morning, welcome to our Sharon Turning Time. We're up to Perek Chav Ches, and these are a series of Perakim which begin with the word Hoi. Oi! Which, according to most Mefarshim, is now turning to the Aseret HaShvatim and then to Shevet Yehuda Ben Yaman, and he's begging them to leave their evil ways, and he begins Hoi la Ateres Geus, oi, to those that have a crown of pride. Shikuri Ephraim, the drunkards of Ephraim. And he's talking here to Ephraim that they would debase themselves with drunkenness, vitzitz noiveil, just like a tree. When the wind blows and all the petals blow away, tzvi. These are all different symbolic terms of different crowns of glory. Ashal roish geish monem, then on their head there was like a pool of oil. They would like, and they used to smear themselves with perfumes, with man oils. Al roish geish monem, like a pool of oil. Halume yoim, those that were shocked from wine. It was like a drunken guy who falls in a stupor on the floor and he gets knocked out from the blow. He's called halume yoim, knocked out from the wine. He's describing people who are out of touch with reality. Living the high profile life, they're living the high roller life, and they're out of touch. What's going to be the end of the Seres HaShvatim? Like a stream of hail, Sha'ar Ketev, or like a wind that breaks everything down, Kizerem Ma'im Kabirem, like a stream of powerful water, Sheitvim, which are flowing, Haniach La'aretz Biyad. It's going to break down all of the crowns and all of the pride of the Shikuri Ephraim. So, again, in the metaphors of Yeshayahu, we never know exactly who he's talking to, but what we could always be sure of is that he's speaking to us. That's what my conclusion of learning Yeshayahu up until now, is that you could never know who he's speaking to from the outside, but from within, you can always be sure he's talking to you. And the messages on that, when you tune into the messages from that perspective, it resonates. And he says, Biraglayim teramasno. Not only when you get out of touch with reality and you shmekstechum with perfume. You know, perfume, at least from a man's, like from the perspective of a man wearing it, it's like the greatest scam ever. It's like ve besti. Was dusty perfume. Hello, was besti. Your essence, if your essence attracts people, then your essence, if it doesn't, same thing is, if you're living this life where the only way how you're going to attract people is with perfume, and the only way how you're going to deal with life is by getting drunk, the results of that is going to be that you're going to become you're going to be halumeyon. You'll get smacked around by the wine. Not only that, but reglaim to the masna, you're going to get trampled underfoot. Ateres geu shikoy Ephraim, through the feet of the drunks of Ephraim. One drunk will trample another. Which means that again, these crowns of glory are going to be thrown down. Asher al roish geishmonim, who on their heads there was pools of oil, of perfume. Vikoiro, like the ta'ina, like a fig that's ripened b'terem kayetz. Asher yireh haroya oiso, it means it's like a ready fig that whoever sees it, bo'oida b'chapoy, when it's still in its hand, yivleno, it's going to swallow it. Which means that nothing's going to remain of you. You're going to be like a ripe fig that is going to be plucked. And everyone is going to exploit you. By Yomahu, on that day, when Ephraim is going to fall, or the kingdom of Ephraim, which means after that Seres HaShvatim are going to fall, Vayomer on that day, Hashem Tzivokos La Teresi. Hashem is going to be the legions or the army La Teresi. This is where the Chayda Teresi. This is where the terminology comes from. Teresi. For the Tfilas the photo, and for a crown of beauty Lisharamoi. And that time is going to be that the kingdom of Yehuda is going to be in a good place. Yeshayahu Melech is going to rule them, and not only are they going to serve God, that He should be their crown. L'ruach mishpat is going to be a spirit of justice. L'yoshev al mishpat v'legvura l'meshiva melchama shiyarom. Yeshayahu Melech is going to sit on the throne of justice, and God is going to be the strength. Meshiva melchama shiyarom. So this is describing a period of peace and a period of goodness and kindness, which is going to come after the blows. You should know that all of Nach is describing. We always, when we learn Nach, we think that it's the end of the world, what was going on. But in reality, we're only talking about those few incidents that went on. But most of the time of all of these kings, it was Gavalt. We only mentioned a few massive, major scenarios that went on. So there was a long period when there was peace and calm. But then, what's going to happen? So the Mefarshim explained that Achaz is going to come onto the scene, and that's where things are going to get messed up after Chizkiyahu. V'gam Eile, Bayai and Shagu, and those two, those Shvatim which are going to become entrenched within their own desires, Bayai and Shagu, their drunkenness is going to lead them astray. Bashechar Tou, their beer that they're going to be drinking is going to veer them off. Not only for the Hamoinam, but also for Kohen Venovi. Shogu Bashechar, they're going to stumble or they're going to err on the side of Shechar's beer. Nivlu Min Ayayin, they're going to become debased or disgraced from drinking so much wine. They're going to make bad decisions, or they're going to veer off or stray from the path from all of their drunkenness. Shogu beroya. They're going to laugh on the seers. You know what a seer is? A roya, like the seer from Lublin. A seer, somebody who could see. He was the Shogu beroya. The Nevi'im were called a seer. Poku pelilya. They're going to take apart, or they're going to paku, be thrown out. The justice. Kikol hashulchonos, this is a very famous pasuk, because from all their drunkenness and all the wine they're going to drink, they're going to vomit. And it says Kikol hashulchonos, all of the tables, milu ki is going to be full of throw up. Toyo b'li mokom, it's going to be full of excrement, without any place for anybody to be. So again, he's describing over here where people are nichnas yain yatzusoid, and talks always about it in Chassidus, that there's certain limits, there's certain barriers that get broken when a person gets drunk. And the effect of that is that he makes decisions which are not aligned with what's meant to be. Therefore, there's not going to be anybody left who are going to guide the people with the Dvar Hashem. And that's what the Navi cries, and he says, it's me Yoida Deya. Who is going to be Yoida Deya? Have you heard the terminology Yoida Deya? It's me Yoida Deya. Who is going to be Yoida Deya? Who is going to teach wisdom? It's me Yovan Shmua. And who's going to be left to listen? Which students are going to be who are ready to hear? You left me over with babies who are just suckling from their mother's breast. You're not leaving me with anybody who's ready to listen. There's not going to be any more continuation from a Rav Talmud. There's not going to be anybody who has the wisdom to be able to listen. Why not? Because Yehuda and Yaman, they're not listening anymore. Ki tzav latzov, tzav latzov. They're going to be about like little children who you have to tell them line by line. Tzav latzov, one command after another command, little by little. It's like going back into kindergarten. Kav lakov, one line after the second line. It's like when you're building a binyan, it's called kav lakov. You do a row of bricks and then another row of bricks. That's called kav lakov. Ze'ir sham, a little here and a little there. There's not going to be anybody who's going to be able to sufficiently build an intellectual edifice within their own minds. There's not going to be anybody intelligent enough to be makabel the lineage that goes from Rav to Talmud, where wisdom gets imparted from generation to generation. Because kibilage shafa, because when the Navi is going to come and he's going to want to give over wisdom, he's going to say bilage shafa ubelashon acheres yidaber el amazeh. They're going to make believe they don't understand them, so there's going to be a miscommunication. There's going to be scoffing. There's going to be the Navi. It's like in every generation, this is always the issue. You have the older generation trying to teach the younger generation the wisdom they've learned. But they give it over in the metaphors of what they learned in their life. But the younger generation has already moved on from that, and they get stuck that the metaphor that was used is irrational. It doesn't make any sense. So they say it's expired. But they never tuned into the underlying message of what they were trying to be taught to get that message and transmit that value over. I'll give you an example. For example, in the older generation, they used to give patch. So they gave him patch. The younger generation came along and said patch is abuse. How could you hit your kids? So we abolished patch. But along with the abolition of patch, what was lost was the discipline and the structure that the older generation had. So we threw away the baby with the bathwater. And that's what the Navi is crying over here. He's saying that there's not going to be a sense of communication. We can't give over what generation A meant to give over to generation B, because you're going to always be scoffing and making litzonos at what they're saying without getting the underlying idea of what they were trying to transmit. Asher Omer Aleim, that which was said to you, Zois Hamenucha Hanichu Oyev V'Zois Hamargeya V'Leovi Shamua. The older generation of the Navi is going to be telling you, Zois Hamenucha, this is going to bring you to calm. Hanichu Le'oyev V'Zois Hamargeya. They're going to say, this is what's going to bring you to inner peace. But they're going to stuff up their ears with the Avos Shemoy. They're not going to want to listen. It's like the older generation is going to say, discipline and structure is going to bring you inner peace and happiness. That's what they're trying to say. And you say, what do you mean? You hit your kids? Abusers. Emotional abuse. Physical abuse. How are you going to teach people that they have a charayus, that they have responsibility? The mile of consistency, of delivering, of being productive, of having inner sifik. How are you going to deliver that? Same thing. It's going to end up being that Hashem's word is going to be like a kindergarten teacher giving kav lakov, ze'ir sham, man yelchu v'kashlu, achoy v'nishbaru, v'noikshu v'nilkadu. And that's how they're going to fall into the trap of their enemies without being able to escape, because if you're going to despise the messages that you were taught, and you're going to throw away and you're going to push away whatever you were taught from either the Navi or from older, wiser people, you end up falling into traps because you haven't continued the wisdom that they were trying to teach you. Therefore, listen to the words of God. Lotzain is the lashon of the tzonos. All you scoffers, people who are mockers, who make fun. Those who are ruling the nation that's in Yerushalayim. This is very, very apropos for today, where we have people who make litzonos of the wisdom of our parents and of our grandparents. We're living today very much in a generation where people have new ideas and new concepts that are flowing within our midst, and there's a tremendous amount of mockery that goes on in the previous generation, that they got everything wrong. They totally didn't understand chinuch. They totally didn't know how to raise us. They got everything wrong. It's like that line that I once told you. By the time you realize that your parents weren't as crazy as you thought they were, you have children who think you are. And that's mamash the asort. Because we go around today that we understand way, way, way better without understanding that could be that our parents and our grandparents had certain flaws and failings, but by the way, we also do, which our children are going to be sitting in therapy in 20 years from now to fix our failings. But don't be ashamed to lose the message and the idea and the concepts of what they were trying to teach us, because those concepts are valuable from Binu Shnois Dor L'Dor. Ki Amarta, because when you were making fun, you said on the Navi, Karasnu B'Risas Maves. Karasnu B'Risas Maves. We made a pact with death that it's not going to come before its time. We figured out how to beat the system. We have medicines, we have technology. We're going to upload all of our wisdom onto the cloud and then download it, with artificial intelligence. When the 3D printers are going to print you out in Tchias HaMesim, you're going to be reprinted in Tchias HaMesim, and we're going to download all of your wisdom, and we're going to continue living forever. We made a contract with Gehenim. Shoiteif, Kiyavoid. We made a deal with all the Tzuris, as Afinsat is Nishkirman. We hit all of the Avodah and we will menachem ourselves that upon us, we're protected. We figured it out. We figured out how to beat the system. Lochen koyal aravayalikim hineni yisad b'tzion even. God said, I want you to know I'm going to a place on Tzion, a king that's strong as a stone, which is going to be Chizkiyahu HaMelech, that's going to return the nation to Tshuva. Even boichen, pinas yikras, musad. The Val will show us over here. It says like a stone, which is a fortress. Pinas yikras is a cornerstone. Musad. It's going to be extremely powerful, extremely strong, that through it Jerusalem is going to remain. Hamaymen lo yochish, the one that believes, lo yochish. Either it means lo yochish means he's not going to feel it, or he's not going to see actually how the nevuah is going to come true right away, because a maimen is somebody who has the faith to do things even when he sees no results. That's the whole idea of a maimen. Something mishpat lakov, and then something mishpat I'm going to put justice lakov. Again, we said, which is a straight line. If you build a building, they used to have like a plumb line or whatever. They used to place a line. They used to build bricks according to that line. Utstakol and mishkolas, and weights. The mishkolas is the weights that you use to measure things, is going to be true. V'ya'o barod machse chazov. The Seiser Mayim Yishtoifu. That means all of the falsehood is going to get washed away. And being that justice will return, V'chupal Berischem, your original pact or your original bond that you've made, V'chipe Berischem Moves, that's you're keeping to you're keeping to your pact, your original agreement that we're going to save you from death. V'chazuschem, and the contract that you made, that you made with Shoel, that you made with Gehenna. Shoitev kiyavoid. That what you said is not going to affect you. V'yisim lo the midmos is going to come and trample you. Meaning everything you said is going to protect you. Is going to come back to bite you. You cannot run away from your own internal hell. You can try to run away from it. You can try to hide from it. But if you're not internally aligned, it's eventually going to come back to haunt you. Midei avroi yikach eschem ki ba'boiker yavoir ba'yoimu ba'layla v'hoyo dak zva'a hoven shemua. All of the problems and the taras which is going to come in the morning is going to come consistently in the morning, and at night it's going to come again. And all of the difficulties which are going to come upon you, dak zva'a hoven shemua, is going to come a tremendous pachad, a tremendous fear, and all those that hear and all those that understand. Ki katzar amatza mishtareya, kamasecha tzoro ki hiskanes. which means that that the mattress or what you're lying on is going to be smaller than the size of the person. You're not going to be able to put yourself on it in a comfortable place. And v'amasecha is the blanket. Tzara kiskav is going to be too short. It means your comforts and your protectors are going to be too small to keep you covered. Why? Ki kahar piratzim. Now he's describing what happens to those that scoff and those that make fun. Ki kahar piratzim. The same thing that Hashem did on Har Piratzim when David HaMelech killed out the Plishtim, and it said in the pasuk Vayalu bebal piratzim. Same thing as Yakum Hashem ke'emek begivon. That happened there with Yeshua and Emek HaGivon. So to Yidgaz Lasis Maseyu Zar Maseyu. Hashem is going to do his act. V'lavoid avodosoi, nochriu avodosoi. Hashem is going to do what he needs to do, and the fact is going to be that the people are going to say, what is going on? It seems like la'avoid avodosoi, nochriu avodosoi. It's a strange foreign avoid what's going on. It's out of the ordinary. Now the Navi turns to the Yid and he says, V'at al tesloitz, to stop making fun. Stop making litzonos of those that are coming to guide you and those that are coming to impart wisdom. Pen yechziku moisrechem, because I don't want that the Yisurim, I don't want that moisrechem, I don't want you to get afflicted from the Yisurim. Ki chola v'nechritzo shamati meis Hashem elikim tzvokos al kol haaretz, because I heard that there's total destruction coming upon the land. Therefore, I'm begging you, don't make fun of those that are coming to guide you. There's a message he's trying to teach you. And all he's telling you is that the effects of what you're doing is going to be caused by you yourself. And if you're going to accept what I'm trying to tell you, and you're going to listen, Ha'azinu v'shimu koili. Listen. Turn your ears here. Listen to my voice. Akshivu v'shimu imrasi. Listen to what I'm trying to tell you. Hakol hayom yachish achoyresh lizroya. If all day are you going to be choyresh in order to plant? Are you going to plow the fields in order to plant? Yefatach v'yishaded admosoy. Do you really think that all day we're just going to plow and plow and plow, and we're never going to plant seeds? We're just going to keep on plowing without planting the seeds? So to the Nevi'im, they're not going to be here forever. They're here for a certain amount of time. They give you the messages and the wisdom, and then it has to grow on its own. So if you have seichel and you listen and you internalize the message, so then you avoid for yourself much trial and tribulations later, because that's the way how somebody who plants, haloyim shiva. If somebody goes and he flattens out a field, panel, he works very hard to flatten out the field. Vehefetz ketzach, and then he goes and he spreads out the seeds. V'chamoin yizroik, v'shom chita shoyro, puts out the chita in the line, and he doesn't put too much, doesn't put too little. V'shoyro nismon, when it comes to planting the barley, he plants it in a place where there's a simon that it needs to be planted there. And somebody who plants there in the known places where it's in the appointed places. And that even though Hashem sends his Nevi'im to chastise the Jewish people, he's not going to send them forever. And eventually, if you don't listen to it, then what the Navi said is going to happen not because he said so, just because he's telling you the way things are. We need to remember the Navi doesn't tell us magical things which are going to happen. I guess besides when there was miracles, but in his regular messages is describing cause and consequences. Because the one who was being dash, he's trampling on the wheat. Loi becharotz yudash ketzach ve'oifan ha'agala al kamoin yusov, and the wheels of the chariot or the wheels of the wagon Al Kamon Yusov, Kivamata Yechobet Ketzav. There's two ways how you can get the chaff out, and you can get out the kernels. Either go over with a wheel, or you could stamp it down. Kivamata Yechobet Ketzach, V'chamoin Bashovet. So too, if the people would be ready to accept Musar, then it would come out like a, it would come out like a wheel that travels on something, and you get all of the wheat to come out. Otherwise, you get beaten. Which means, in the end of the day, you're going to learn the lesson. The question is, how much pain are you going to have to go through until you get it? So what the Navi is really saying is, at the end of the game, God's going to get through to you in your life. The question is, could you the question is, how are you going to get to the finish line? How much pain, how much suffering are you going to need to go through until you open your ears to listen to the message? Lechem yudak, because we're not dust forever. Same thing you were saying before. We don't do the process of dust forever. If you work along, then it gets done. Eventually you get bread. V'homein Gilgal agalosoy ufaroshav lo yudukenu. It's not going to keep on going forever, this process of being dash. Gam zois, this prophecy that I told you, it didn't come out from my heart, it's coming from God. Hifli Eitzo, who's coming with all of these tremendous advice. Higdil Toishia, who's doing it in order to bring great salvation. And again, what he's trying to tell us again and again is that the messages of the Navi is here to make our life easier and our life better and more fulfilled. And if we don't listen to the messages, that's how we create our own hell, and that's what makes our life miserable. L'chaim.